Michelle Miller for CBS News. This is Eye on America, where we take an inside look at the nation's most pressing issues. We'll introduce you to the problem solvers and solution seekers who are proving to be the heartbeat of our country. We begin in the skies, where the nation is facing a pilot shortage, and when it comes to pilots of color, they are even more scarce. I met with Carole Hopson, one of the few black female pilots who is inspiring the next generation.
Which way is the wind coming from? Coming from the left. Look at that nose. Very good.
In the cockpit, soaring high above, Carole Hopson has relinquished the pilot seat. She's mentored Silver Ford for the past 6 years.
You got a lot of runway, 6,000 feet if I remember.
Where were you before you met Carole Hopson?
Before I met Carole, I was a freshman at Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University in Daytona Beach, Florida. Honestly, in the process of going to classes, trying to figure out how I would afford flight training. Tuition was approximately $40,000 a year. Flight training fees could be as much as $20,000.
But Ford is now an official flight instructor and will soon become the first black woman pilot in the Tennessee Air National Guard's 164th Airlift Wing.
So your students come out and fly here?
Oh, sure.
In these planes?
Absolutely. This is one of our airplanes.
It's all possible through the Luke Weathers Flight Academy in Olive Branch, Mississippi, named after the Tuskegee Airmen and first African-American air traffic controller.
So my role is cheerleader. My role is to help bring awareness of the school, to fundraise. In order to get 100 black women through flight school, we estimate it's going to be about $7 million.
Courtney Gillespie is one of them. When she met Hopson, she was working as a lifeguard to pay off a 6-figure student loan from her time in aviation school.
She said, look, you're going to have to make a plan, but I have somewhere where you can probably go that's going to help you out, but you're going to have to make a way to get there. And so when she finally gave me like that little light at that end of the tunnel, that kind of where I can start to see my journey going, I really took it. I took it and I grabbed onto it.
This nonprofit program cuts flight training costs by 2/3, thanks to Hopson and her fellow members of the Organization of Black Aerospace Professionals, including
Captain Albert Glenn. I'd like for you to meet Michelle Miller. Michelle,
Nice.
this is my mentor.
He mentored you. When you see her mentoring other students, how does that feel?
It feels great because, it's that finding those diamonds and then watching them shine, and given the opportunity and being able to put together a school and then being able to put monies, in the hands of those who need it to be successful it was a dream.
As a United Airlines Boeing 737 first officer, Hopson has become a poster pilot for access.
I am living proof that it is never too late to follow your dream.
A former journalist turned human resources executive turned stay-at-home mom, Hopson deferred her dream of a professional flight career until the age of 50.
So there are 100,000 people who fly for a living. There's 7% who are women. 2 to 3% are African American. That number has not changed in 20 years. Less than 1% are black women.
Many of them her co-workers, General Stacey Harris, Teresa Claiborne, Claudia Zapata Cardone, and Andrea Weeks. But before them all, there was Bessie Coleman.
So she becomes the first American to go over to France to receive a civilian certificate. Yes, she's the first black female. And yes, she earned her certificate almost 2 years ahead of Amelia Earhart.
Hopson's novel, A Pair of Wings, is based on Coleman's 34 years of life, mined from archives and black newspapers of her day, showcasing the aspirations of this 20th century pioneer.
I began to think about what I would be able to do with all of this flight training when I got home. Would I truly be able to open a school and do for the Negro? Where in the world would I get the airplanes, even the students with money to pay for their own flight time?
For Hopson, looking back allowed a way forward.
So we got gear down.
To make Coleman's dreams a reality.
I was always reminded that where she walked, I had the option to take the train. Where she took the train, I had the option to fly. Where she took a ocean liner, my life was greatly improved because I stood on her shoulders.
What do you hope the book conveys to the audience, to the reader?
Hope. Hope. There is never a time when you don't have options. To dream big and to put dates on it. To not give up.
A mirror to those aiming high and yearning to take off.
I'm very proud of you. Thank you.
We now turn to a growing problem in the world's oceans: lost and abandoned fishing gear littering sea floors. Nancy Chin takes a look at how fishermen in Maine are working to clean up the harmful debris.
On the surface, Portland, Maine's coastline looks like a classic New England picture postcard. But lurking just a few feet below, another world. One of long-forgotten fishing nets, ropes, and lobster traps, tangled together over years by storms and currents.
If you throw it over the side, it never leaves. It's still there.
Lobsterman Jim Buxton has worked the waters off Portland for more than 30 years. He led us 3 miles offshore to Whitehead Passage, where we watched him haul up today's catch, a ball of lost and abandoned fishing gear, twisted with his own.
That's probably 6 or 8 traps, then a rope for a string, and a piece of gill net that was drifting around the bottom.
How did you find it?
It was wrapped up in some lobster gear I was actually actively fishing. This is gill net. So
It's known as ghost gear.
That's a trap door. This is a shrimp twine head, which we started using in the late 80s, early 90s.
How long do you think this has been underwater?
I'm estimating like 15 years plus.
In 2019, Buxton helped recover this 7-ton ball of ghost gear off nearby Cape Elizabeth. But that's just a small fraction of the more than 600,000 tons of fishing gear thought to be added to the world's oceans each year.
It's really something that is out of sight, out of mind for most folks.
Jacqueline McGarry is the program manager for the Global Ghost Gear Initiative, or Triple GI, at the Ocean Conservancy. The Triple GI is an alliance of 18 nations, dozens of companies, universities, and NGOs.
Ghost gear is the most harmful form of marine debris to wildlife, but it is also really harmful to fishers and coastal communities who depend on income from fishing. And it is a problem pretty much anywhere you find fishing.
Anywhere in the world?
All over the world.
Ghost gear can unintentionally trap, injure, or even kill marine life. In 2020, divers freed this whale from a tangled fishing net off the coast of Italy. Is the solution to all this in the prevention or in the removal of ghost gear?
It really is about both. Preventing it from ending up in our ocean in the first place, minimizing the amount of damage it does, and then recovering what's easily able to be recovered.
Like the ghost gear Buxton found on a dive at the end of a fishing pier in downtown Portland. There was so much, a crane had to be brought in to lift it out of the water.
I mean, this is a challenge.
Aaron Pelletier runs the Gulf of Maine Lobster Foundation and works with the Triple GI and fishermen like Buxton to organize local cleanups.
You know, when you're pulling it up out of the water and you're waiting to see what it is, it's like waiting for Christmas.
Wow, what is this? Among the finds, a door, ladder, and plenty of traps, nets, and rope. About 2 tons in all.
Smells good.
That hits you right in the nostrils. Holy moly.
No one had really approached the subject before. Fishermen in general don't want their fingers pointed at them because this is nothing they do on purpose. But they started to realize, why don't we be stewards of the environment and help with the process rather than pretend it's not there?
How important is it to have that partnership with them?
It's critical. And they know where the stuff is. They're the ones who get on the water. I don't dive, so we wouldn't be able to do it without them.
A sometimes tedious task in what can feel like just a drop in the ocean. But Buxton wouldn't have it any other way. How do you feel bringing this stuff up?
Good. I've been a diver since '83. The average person never sees the bottom. This is part of fishing, you know, and I'm a fisherman. I feel responsible to help clean it up.
Removing the ghost gear of years past and keeping these waters full of life.
After the break, 2 communities from the north and the south become sister cities to help bridge a racial divide, and how a town came together to save a beloved general store. That's still ahead. According to Gallup, the number of black and white Americans who think race relations in the U.S. are very or somewhat good are on the decline. But two small communities over 1,000 miles apart are joining forces to unite and learn from their different perspectives. Janet Shamlian has more.
And this was the project that we did this past year.
Guy Trammell co-writes a column for Alabama's Tuskegee News.
Hey, Guy, how you doing?
But his collaborator lives nowhere near the historic southern city. Amy Miller's in South Berwick, Maine, more than 1,000 miles away, a town almost as white as Tuskegee is black.
I had this idea anyway about doing a column from a white perspective and trying to match it with somebody doing it from a black perspective.
The shared column appears in both communities' newspapers. Launched after South Berwick and Tuskegee joined together as sister cities, hoping to bridge a racial divide.
What was the initial reaction here to the proposal?
It sounded like something that was healthy. Our country was going through some turmoil.
Karen Hopkins was the first to co-write with Amy.
When you're sharing the stories, you're actually getting to know each other.
Guy Trammell took it over a few years ago.
What has this relationship meant to you?
This is one opportunity to actually bring people together. Instead of a divided states, we're the United States.
And two communities united. Residents of each have visited the other, sampling food, learning history.
Many people in South Berwick who have gotten to know our friends from Tuskegee, they have now learned from people that they know and like and care about what they went through as Black people in America.
Do you feel like you personally have a better understanding now of the people of that community?
We're a lot alike in that we value community, we value family, we value education, history. We're a lot alike.
Across miles and divergent histories, Tuskegee and South Berwick finding friendship and common ground.
Now we take you to Vermont, where America's labor shortage is in plain sight at a beloved general store. Steve Hartman introduces us to the community that stepped up and stepped in.
Here in Norwich, Vermont, for more than a century, this general store has been as much a fixture in the community as the church steeple. But then that sign went up, screaming a desperate need in neon orange, a warning sign of an end approaching. Dan Frazier is the owner of Dan & Witts.
How many openings did you have?
All of them.
All of them?
Yeah. It was like, we're gonna have to lock the front door because we have zero help.
This was your dad's business. This was your grandfather's business.
Right.
And it was gonna close on your watch?
Yeah, which would be tough when you've invested your whole life into it.
Customers were equally devastated. Of course, that happens whenever a small town loses an iconic business. But what sets this place apart is that these customers didn't just give Dan their sympathies. They gave him their applications.
I'm so excited to have you here.
Well, it's so nice to be here.
This retired finance director applied for a job in the deli.
There we go.
Dr. Rick Farrell is working checkout.
I'm just trying to get the cash register to work.
People from all over town and all walks of life punched in to help Dan stay open.
There I am.
I'm a therapist, teacher, second grade teacher,
Professor of psychology, principal of the middle school. I'm an RN.
So far, nearly 24 customers, like Diane Miller, have stepped up.
Because Dan & Witts is the heartbeat of this community.
It's the heart of our town.
For some reason,
the heart of the town.
I really got this sense.
It's the heart of this town.
That Dan and his store are the heart of the town. Yep. And as if stocking shelves and running register weren't enough, virtually all of these new hires are donating their hourly wage to some of Dan's favorite charities. Dan says this has all been just the help he needed.
Absolutely. The fact that the community stepped up, you know? I mean, sometimes it takes sort of a crisis, if you will, to appreciate what you have.
And in Norwich, they have what every town needs more than anything.
Thank you.
Each other.
Coming up, a father and daughter duo are driving hundreds of miles to donate RVs to those who need them most. Amid the devastation of wildfires this past few years, a father and his young daughter are hitting the road to provide shelter to those in need and renewing people's faith in mankind. Here's Jamie Wax.
Should we get a snack, or are you doing okay?
Yeah.
What are you thinking?
I don't know.
Some healthy vegetarian gas station options?
Yeah.
Woody Faircloth and his 9-year-old daughter Luna are getting used to life on the road.
Look at how beautiful this is. It really is pretty.
For the last 3 years, they've been taking special trips to deliver RVs to families who've lost homes in wildfires. It's a mission they began after watching news of the deadly 2018 Camp Fire in California.
I turned to Luna, who was 6 at the time. She had no front teeth. And I said, Luna, why don't we get an RV and we'll drive it to California and give it to a family so they have a place to call home for Thanksgiving.
Luna, you said something very special right then at that Thanksgiving.
Yeah, I said, Dad, God and Santa Claus are going to be very proud of us.
And do you feel like God and Santa Claus are very proud of you?
Yes.
Faircloth began looking for RV donors and was amazed by how many people wanted to help with unwanted RVs or their time.
We have volunteers all over the country that have helped us. We have people right now that are answering emails and processing paperwork for these donations. I mean, it's just raise your hand and say, hey, I'd like to help. They can come home and make a home-cooked meal. And
Dad and daughter have personally delivered about 20 RVs to folks in need, mostly firefighters, first responders, and veterans. And he's helped arrange around 100 donations in all. But it's also been an opportunity to teach his daughter.
Oh, look at the palm trees.
Everywhere along their trips are reminders of the cost of these fires.
look at the ground, how it's just ash.
And they've developed a stronger bond.
It's been really special for the two of us, just to be able to spend that time together and to make a difference, just so she knows that it's not just about her and it's not just about me, it's about the people that we're helping. And, we're blessed.
Oh my gosh, it's so, bumpy.
We joined them on a trip from Denver to Redding, California.
All right, now we're really in the home stretch.
Dun, 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 dun.
They were there to deliver a new home.
That's beautiful.
To Don George, a firefighter who lost nearly everything when his own home burned in the Fawn Fire this past September, while he was helping to save others' homes.
I went to the crew and I go, hey, I got to go check on my house, and it was already too late. My son says, I don't know how to tell you, but he just couldn't even talk. He didn't know how to say it. Go on.
George has been fighting fires for nearly 50 years. He's used to being the one doing the rescuing.
That your co-pilot?
His role changed when the Faircloths arrived.
I got keys for you.
Thank you.
I got a title for you.
When we visited George a few weeks later,
Let's look at the crown molding and everything.
It's just absolutely gorgeous.
he'd received a second donated RV so that his adult sons who lived with their parents could also have a place to live.
All I can say is thank God for Woody. You couldn't ask for a better man. He came just exactly the right time for me, renewed my faith in mankind. Man, if there was more people like that, we'd have a beautiful world.
All these families, we feel like they're part of our family now, and we stay in touch, and we hear their stories and share their successes.
You continue to be a community.
Absolutely.
And the experience has also helped a little girl grow wise beyond her years.
What makes you most proud?
That I've made a really big change in the world for a lot of people.
Do you want people to see this and decide, children and adults, that they can do the same thing?
Yes.
What can we all do to help make that happen?
Just be nicer to each other.
Another tragic effect of the pandemic is education disparity. A pre-existing achievement gap has now widened for minority children, especially Black students. Our Meg Oliver visited a school in Camden, New Jersey that's bridging the divide.
Camden is not just the boarded up houses that you see.
Good morning, good to see you, good to see you.
There are lives. There are brilliant, beautiful scholars.
Good morning, George. George, you were rocking it out yesterday in class. Keep it up, okay?
There are families who love their kids, who are passionate about education, passionate about equity, passionate about change.
The 10s first.
That passion helped turn Camden's failing public schools into a success story. 8 years ago, the state took over the schools and transformed them. This school is now the highest performing school in the area.
More than once. If I need help, they'll step aside for me and teach me anything I need.
The percentage of kids in this elementary school who are at or above grade level in math soared from 3% to 60%, and in reading from 4% to 50%.
So you're gonna regroup, showing your ones, okay?
Principal Susanna Tago.
When you see our kids in action and you see how much brilliance and how articulate and how capable they are, then you understand not to limit them.
We circle our numbers.
It's all part of Camden's second act with the creation of what are called Renaissance schools like Camden Prep. Unlike most other charters, there is not a lottery admission. Kids get to go here because they live in the neighborhood.
These are the same scholars, and that proves that zip code does not determine your ability.
What do you like about school?
That I get to learn stuff.
You get to learn stuff?
Scholars, we're now going to start writing.
Dominic Young teaches kindergarten.
I love seeing the student body of Black and brown children coming together to just ultimately dismantle the stereotypes.
The curriculum is tailored to each student's ability and measures both their academic and emotional progress.
So how do you feel right now?
And there is daily communication with their parents.
We can't do this work without our families. So often we're speaking to our families at dismissal, at arrival, in the middle of the day, a quick text message.
You're texting parents in the middle of the school day?
Yeah, not when the kids are in front of me, of course. But in the middle of the school day, you might want to send a quick text to a parent to just let them know I'm invested in your child.
They text me in, our girl is having a great day.
And how does that make you feel at home?
Makes me feel good. All right, she got a star for the day. Yes.
When you wake up in the morning, Rashad, do you want to go to school?
Yes.
Why?
When I go to school, I see my teachers and our classmates, and I think, okay, I'm going to be comfortable here.
Something Tago never experienced as the only student of color at her elementary school.
I know that when you were 5, a little boy at school said, "Don't touch me, you're dirty." How did that comment alter your life?
Wasn't expecting that.
Does it still hurt?
Yep. So when I think about that moment, especially being dark-skinned, and you know you're different, I think about why I do this work. They're gonna be the next generation to change this society and ensure that everything is better for them and better for the next generation after. And that's a big responsibility, but it's a beautiful one.
You can find news and more stories like these on the CBS Evening News with Nora O'Donnell at 6:30 p.m. And stream us right here on CBS News for live coverage of breaking headlines 24/7, available for free across all platforms. I'm Michelle Miller. Thanks for watching.